In the 1931 film M, the manhunt for a serial child killer is orchestrated by both the police and the criminal underworld. The latter is able to deduce through an auditory witness that the killer is Hans Beckert. Seeking their own form of justice, Beckert is taken to a distillery now resembling the courtroom by the criminals. This mock trial serves as a climax for Beckert and for the story. His crimes have finally caught up to him. Most importantly, it has catalyzed the people who have become aware of the inefficiency of the law and have banded together in joint madness to execute punishment. The absurd nature of the kangaroo courtroom is highlighted, which bears historical parallels in relation to Nazi Germany.
So the segment we chose has camera angles that focus on the different characters of the scene. With this being said, I believe it is essential to reiterate the importance of the characters in each scene. We have Beckert, the women reacting to Beckert's testimony, and Schranker, alias the judge. First, we have a close-up of Beckert and witness his testimony to the audience, the jury, and the judges. A close-up directly looks at the face of the character/actor. The function of the close-up in this scene is to elaborate on A, the emotions felt by Beckert, B, his dialogue, and C, begin the process of gaining sympathy from the audience. The importance of this scene brings to light the emotional, political, and social upheaval felt in this community. The community has mixed reactions to his testimony, which shows the inability for a consensus to be formed. Nonetheless, an opinion has been formed by the judge, and a decision has been made. Next, we have the judge, who has an omnipotent presence throughout the scene and the film. The camera angle for his scene is a low-angle shot. The camera angle has a POV looking upward at an almost divine being. Once more, we are looking upward at a father figure. The function of the scene is to establish an authoritative presence to portray Schranker, alias the judge, as a judge, jury, and executioner, thus establishing his authority and influence on the audience and the jury. Finally, we can look at the women reacting to Beckert's testimony. A two-angle shot shows the women's reaction to his testimony. This angle, as the name suggests, shows two people in a single scene. The angle portrays the reaction that Beckert's victims might have felt. Furthermore, the function of the scene is to emotionally subdue the audience viewing the film.
The most important part of the sound within this scene consists of the dialogue. The director chooses to not include any other elements such as sound effects, music, or narration in order to emphasize the dialogue within the scene. The dialogue consists mostly of Beckert attempting to prove his innocence due to insanity by describing what he feels and remembers when he commits a murder. Although he knows his pleas are just falling on deaf ears, he still desperately pleads for his life. Within the dialogue, silence is used to emphasize the emotional weight behind what Beckert says. Beckert also talks about how the criminals prosecuting him have no right, as they themselves are guilty of crimes such as manslaughter, as well as other things. He mentions how he's unable to stop himself from committing crimes, yet the people sentencing him to crimes with full control of their actions. Within the crowd, it can be seen that some people are showing sympathy for Beckert after hearing him speak. However, the prosecutor leading the trial makes sure the crowd's sympathy leads to nothing. Overall, the dialogue's purpose within this scene is to show the audience that the trial is nothing more than a formality, and the criminals have already decided to kill Beckert. It also causes the audience to sympathize for Beckert despite the terrible things he has done due to the unfair treatment he is facing.
This segment has ties to the political and social climate of Germany during the time. It is filled with Nazi parallels such as the kangaroo court that the criminals are holding, and the speech where the lead judge says, quote, "A man who claims that he's compelled to destroy the lives of others, such a man must be extinguished like a bonfire," end quote. The Nazis were notorious for their bonfires, and this seems like a statement that could be applied to Hitler. Knowing that Fritz Lang fled Germany before World War II after refusing to take part in creating Nazi propaganda, it is clear he does not hold them in a favorable position. This segment also contributes to the message Fritz portrays about the police versus the underground, which seems to be another political allegory. The criminal underground are the socialists, and the police represent more conservative factions. He represents both sides as flawed. In this scene, for instance, it is pointed out that all the criminals choose to commit crimes, while our murderer supposedly can't help it. Left devastated after World War I, this movie and scene connect into Fritz's broader messages of political and social unrest in Germany.
So Germany was in the midst of being governed by the Weimar Republic, which faced criticism for being too weak. In the film, we see various crime syndicates seeking to do what they thought the government was supposed to do for them. We see the audience react to Beckert's testimony mostly against his pleas of insanity. However, we do see some mixed reactions in the audience in the trial. This may be indicative of the general sentiment of the public had during this time period. Film, of course, is set in the 1930s, and as such, we see various costumes that reflect the fashion and style of the era, as shown on the picture. We see Der Schranker wear a polished leather trench coat, reflecting on a stereotypical mob boss look that I think also pointed to his wealth and higher position in society. The acting in this film was attributed for its depth and intensity, especially from the performance of Peter Lorre, who played the serial killer Hans Beckertz. Lorre's portrayal of the disturbed and deranged serial killer is particularly remarkable for its ability to convey the complexity of a troubled individual overcome by his compulsions and fear of getting caught. And clearly see Lorre's reaction. He puts his hand on his head in shock as he attempts to portray the murderer as being surprised by his own actions and insanity.
M contains timeless elements in relation to judicial shortcomings, criminal procedures, the psychology of a murderer, and the power of paranoia. Lang managed to use relatively new audio technology and weave it both into the narrative as an important plot device and for editing purposes to highlight tension. The courtroom scene can be read as a prelude and interpreted as a parallel to Nazi courtroom proceedings. In the context of cinema history, it is still seen into modern day as not only a testament to cinematic creativity, but as a massive influence to the suspense genre as a whole.